France is a nation that has shaped the destiny of Europe and the world. From medieval kingdoms and powerful empires to bloody revolutions, global domination, collapse and rebirth, this is the story of France's rise to greatness and its repeated falls. A story of kings and peasants, revolutionaries and emperors, victory and humiliation. This is the rise and fall of France. The story of France begins after the fall of the Roman Empire. As Rome collapsed in the 5th century, Germanic tribes swept across Western Europe. Among them were the Franks, led by a powerful king named Clovis I. In the year 496, Clovis converted to Christianity, a decision that would change history. This alliance with the church gave the Franks legitimacy and unity. Paris became a political center. The foundations of France were laid. But unity did not last long. After Clovis's death, the kingdom was divided among his sons, a pattern that would haunt France for centuries. In the 8th century, a new leader emerged, Charlemagne. Charlemagne expanded Frankish territory across modern-day France, Germany, Italy, and beyond. In the year 800, he was crowned Emperor of the Romans by the Pope. This was the first French-led empire. Charlemagne reformed education, law, and administration. Europe experienced a cultural revival. But once again, after his death, the empire was divided. The Treaty of Verdun in 843 split it into pieces. West Francia would eventually become France. Medieval France was fragmented. Kings ruled in name, but real power belonged to feudal lords. Yet slowly, French kings strengthened their authority. The Capetian dynasty ruled for centuries. Paris grew richer, the monarchy became more centralized, but disaster struck in the 14th century. In 1337, war broke out between France and England. The 100 Years' War devastated France. English armies burned villages. French knights were slaughtered at battles like Agincourt. France seemed finished. Then came a teenage peasant girl named Joan of Arc. Claiming divine visions, she inspired French forces and lifted the siege of Orleans. Though later captured and executed, her legacy saved France. By 1453, England was expelled. France survived. France entered the Renaissance. Art, science, and architecture flourished. Kings like Francis I sponsored artists and thinkers. Later came Louis XIV, the Sun King. He ruled for 72 years, the longest reign in European history. Versailles symbolized unmatched royal power. France became Europe's dominant military and cultural force. But absolute power came at a cost. By the late 18th century, France was bankrupt. The people were starving. The nobles paid no taxes. In 1789, the French Revolution exploded. The Bastille fell. The monarchy collapsed. King Louis XVI was executed. France abolished centuries of royal rule. But freedom descended into chaos. Out of the chaos rose Napoleon Bonaparte, a military genius. Napoleon crowned himself emperor in 1804. France dominated Europe. Its armies marched from Spain to Moscow. But ambition led to disaster. The Russian campaign destroyed his army. In 1815, Napoleon was defeated at Waterloo. France fell again. The 19th and 20th centuries brought instability. France lost to Prussia in 1871, won World War I, but at enormous cost, collapsed quickly in World War II under Nazi invasion. Yet France resisted. It rebuilt. France has fallen many times, but it has always risen again, from tribes to empire, from kings to republic. The story of France is not just about power, it is about resilience, and that is why France still stands today. France had been born from the ruins of Rome, but being born was not the same as being powerful. The land was still divided, the people were still fragmented, and the future of France was far from secure. Yet from this uncertainty, a new force began to rise. In the late 5th century, a young Frankish king named Clovis I took power. Unlike many rulers before him, Clovis understood something crucial. Power alone was not enough. In 496 AD, Clovis converted to Christianity. This single decision changed everything. By embracing Christianity, Clovis gained the support of the church and the Roman population. Religion became a tool of unity. Through conquest and diplomacy, Clovis united much of Gaul under his rule. For the first time, the foundations of France as a kingdom were firmly laid. After Clovis, France went through periods of division and weak leadership, but in the 8th century, a new dynasty emerged, the Carolingians. The greatest of them was Charlemagne. Charlemagne was not just a king, he was a visionary. In 800 AD, the Pope crowned him Emperor of the Romans, reviving the idea of a Western Empire. His rule brought strong administration, legal reform, educational revival. France became the heart of a vast empire that dominated Europe, but greatness came with a weakness. After Charlemagne's death, the empire was divided among his heirs. Unity collapsed once again. The Treaty of Verdun 843 split the empire into 3 parts. The western portion became West Francia, the direct ancestor of modern France. From this moment, France began to develop its own identity, separate from empire. But it was still fragile. Powerful nobles controlled most of the land. The king ruled in name, not in reality. France needed strong kings to survive. In 987 AD, a turning point arrived. Hugh Capet became king, founding the Capetian dynasty. For centuries, Capetian kings worked patiently to strengthen royal authority. They expanded royal lands, they weakened feudal lords, they made Paris the political heart of France. Slowly, power shifted from castles to the crown. France was no longer just surviving, it was rising. By the 13th century, France had transformed. It had a centralized monarchy, a growing army, a national identity. People no longer saw themselves only as subjects of local lords. They began to see themselves as French. France had completed its rise, but its greatest test was still ahead, and it would come through war. If you enjoyed this documentary, like, subscribe, and share for more epic world history stories.